wow, that 30 seconds goes by. It takes forever for it to
What's
go
that?
by.
That went fast.
It's a feature or a built-in clip within there. I have to go through some of my streaming stuff and pull out some of the archives. I have a lot of those counters and stuff already working. I just haven't had time to do it. So how you doing today, Rich?
Pretty good, Joe. Pretty good. I spent most of the weekend tinkering around with this, trying to get EKS set up in the AWS environment. You and I swapped some messages. So as I was telling you just before we started, I recloned your sample project. And right now I'm doing a quick build and test on it to make sure that it runs. But I'm looking forward to more punishment today as we stumble into something without actually reading all of or maybe any of the helpful directions that people have written. So should be good. How was your weekend? Good?
Good. I spent a lot of time playing around with this, trying to get it to work in Writer. It works in Visual Studio just by hitting play. So I spent a lot of time trying to figure out what I did wrong in Writer to get it work. So I think I might have figured it out. We're going to try one or two things. If it doesn't work, we'll just go to Visual Studio, and then at some point we'll come back and figure out what went wrong with Writer. Oh, apparently I can't post comments in some directions. LinkedIn doesn't allow their comments. So yes, it was very painful. Look for a shorter clip. Hey Randy, what's up? Or should I call you Eric? So let's get started. Let's see. I'm going to shift this over to my other screen. Da-da-da. And then I will share my screen. Where's my share button? Present. Share screen. Share screen. Which screen do I want to share? Let's share that one. Okay. So now we have a full copy of Writer up. Really nothing is different from what we looked at the other day. It's right where I left off. So let's take a look. If I hit the debug, hopefully it'll run this time. I don't think so because I really didn't change anything. Could ignore those messages and ignore the fact that I haven't hit Alt F5 20 times. So now it's going and building it, and it should be running it, and it's going to start, hopefully. The debugger is initializing. Now, when I left it on Saturday, it was failing with the .NET certificates were not registered. I can't tell if it's still running or not. Let me pull up Docker. Actually, technically, you don't have to pull up Docker. Oh, there it goes. So it failed exactly where I thought it was going to fail, which is no server certificate. So I was able to do the build and run, but the .NET certificates aren't registered. So I could run this command inside of Docker. So I'm going to do that to see if it works, but I don't know if that's going to work every single time. So I'm going to click on the services, and then I think I could, I'm going to go back. Services, click on terminal, and then .NET dev cert, I think it is. I need the SDK. That's why I can get it to work. Paul, because it's not part of the SDK, and this build does not have the SDK in it. So when I looked at the Visual Studio instance of it, let's go take a look at the new Docker one. So I did this share generate certificate, which is supposed to take care of that for us. It's an option in the run, but for some reason it isn't. I also had to add in the new bindings of ports to say bind port 8080 to local or to the container port of 80, and then 881 to that In some examples I've read, it says to marry these ports based on the launch settings ports. So we look at that. We had 5901 and 5900. I tried that. It didn't work. And actually, right now, nothing's going to work because the dev certificates are not there. So I have to figure out how to add the dev certificates. Now, if you notice, right now we have a lot more volumes that we're mounting. And one of these volumes is the user secrets folder. So it's supposed to grab the password from the user secret. So if we go here and choose tools.net user secrets, there should be a user secret in here that corresponds to the Kubernetes certificate that's generated. And for whatever reason, I can't get Writer to do that right now. So I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to stop Writer, and then I'm going to open up Visual Studio and show it running in Visual Studio. Come on, Visual Studio. Why'd you only start there? Can't see it, but it's still there. It goes. Let's
There you go.
open up the screen. So we see the Docker file is here. Visual Studio is not ready yet. Come on, Visual Studio, you can do it. It's going. I want to lose my work. I'm not going to commit and sync the changes early and often. That's not true. I always do that, but in this particular case, I don't want to. Okay, now we're here with the Docker. Oh, look, there's an update available. Let's do the update live on TV.
Don't do it.
No, I'm not going to do it. So because I didn't add the Docker file through Visual Studio, I don't have the Docker configuration file here to run. So there's two different ways I can do this. I think I can come here and choose add Docker support. And I do it for, let's just do it for Linux. Says it's already there. Do I want to regenerate it? Let's see what happens if I click it. Yes. So it didn't regenerate it. Use the existing one in here, but it's going to build the image. But you'll notice, let's see if we can catch it here. Let's wait for it to infinitely stop scrolling. It's finished. So I can't really zoom in on this window because I didn't change the settings. So I'm going to do the Windows zoom. So look when it creates the contact file. So it's going to create contacts API dev. And it adds these two labels that it was created by Visual Studio and the project name. And then that's the source. So that looks cool. However, let's go back here. Oops, zoomed too far. Let's zoom out. Later on here, you're going to see a whole bunch of stuff that happens. So it's basically this Docker run right here. So it says mount the volume to the Visual Studio debugger. Then it adds a path to my user secrets. And then it adds user secrets directory. Then it adds HTTPS. This is where it's going to throw the certificate that's going to use for the ASP.NET Dev certificates. And then Visual Studio Enterprise build, and then a couple other things. So it added a bunch of volumes. If we look at it in Kubernetes, this is a Visual Studio instance. Look at the bind mounts. It added a lot of them. Some of the ones it said it added where the user secrets are kept locally. So if I look here, I'll see all the different files for user secrets. These are all my apps that have user secrets in them. And then it goes and adds this HTTPS, which I believe has the certificates there. Yeah, I created a contacts API certificate, and that's what's going to be copied over as part of the overall package. And then we should see under the inspect that we have all those folders, and then we have ports. I haven't figured out where it gets 32.768 or 32.769 yet, but we will figure that out. So once we did that, if I go and look at the user secrets now, I do manage user secrets. Oh, it's not there. Huh. It was there before. There was a new one created here. Maybe I have to run the project first. So let's go and run it in Docker. When I got it to work last time, a Kubernetes underscore context ID underscore secret or something like that got created. And here it goes. So as soon as I click yes, we'll see it. There's a new Kestrel certificates development password. That's the password that was created to the Kubernetes, to the dev certificates that was running. And now I have the API running, which is what I would expect. We're getting a SQLite error because there's no such table that exists called context. That's because we didn't copy over the database. So remember from the stream last time, we had the database that sits in, I think it was the projects databases, if I remember correctly. The projects, I go to databases, and this is the database we're using. So we need to either copy and paste it in there or create a Docker volume that will go to this directory. For sake of simplicity, I am just going to copy this locally. And kids, don't try this at home. You typically don't want to put your database inside of your container. I'm only doing this because it's a sample and I don't want to have to go through the pain of configuring it for everyone. So
I'd make the claim we're trained professionals, but
we're not.
I think that would be.
So we'll have to update. We'll have to update this dev settings to make sure that's not there. And then, well, it's going to pull in development. So let's update this one and just do contacts.db. I'm going to put here to copy always. Actually, I don't think I need to do that, but I need to rebuild the container. So let's go right click here and choose build. And then I'm going to run it, and I'll double check that the project is in there. But we can check that right from here once we're done. Let's see if there's no questions. Okay, now it's running. Or I should say it's publishing, publish the new files. Added them. And now we should have a container there. Got the images, right? Yeah. So this image should have everything. Let's go and start it. Should have the container pop up. There it is. Let's go see if the files are in there. So if anything, it should be in the app directory. And it is, but still get a failure. It's on my other screen, so bear with me when I move it over. I don't know why it likes to start on the other screen. So it's still not pulling in that image. And it has the development JSON file. Oh, it's still trying to open up from the user secrets. That's why. That's what generated this file. So let's go and remove this for now. And let's rebuild it and see. Where are you, Joe? Where are you, Joe? Let's do it on here. You can see that one a lot easier. Come on.
There's no eternity like waiting in a live demo, Joe.
Yeah, I know, right? Luckily, we don't have to build it every time just when we're trying to get it to work.
Which is every time.
After we eventually get it to work, we won't need to do that anymore.
Enough clicking of the start button and it'll work at some point.
Yep. Okay, so that's good. That means I messed up on the name of it. So let's go
Complaining
here.
about that blank line in your secrets.
Oh, here.
Yeah.
No, it shouldn't care.
Right.
Still valid JSON. It's probably this. It didn't recognize. No, that should be good. Let's see. Let's go back and look at our container. This is the error. Format of initialization string does not conform. That didn't conform. It looked right. I mean, it's only so hard to spell that. Can I view this file? It is contacts DB. What am I missing? Maybe I need to do.
I'll show you what I've got for mine. That
Eh.
the good news, this works, and I'm getting a different error.
You can share your screen. We can see your error.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
So I'm going to remove mine. Let's get you. You can share.
All right. So present, right? Oh, I've got to move you out of the way. Some weird such thing.
See this? See the comment?
There's a lot less swearing now than there was in the BDB one. That's how much area? What's happening here? Nothing here. Oh, share screen. There we go. Okay, share screen. And where do I choose it? There it is. All right.
The bottom.
Bear with me as I. Oh man, which one's one and which one's two? Bear with me as I stream for the first time. Oh, good. I got it right. Okay. This is my second stream.
Okay, there you go.
Here we go. Okay.
Might have to
And
zoom
Joe,
in or fix that font size.
Yeah, I don't have your Zoomy widget. Wait, is there a Zoomy widget in
Just window
StreamYard?
and the plus key.
Window plus?
That will bring up the magnifier.
I wish.
In Visual Studio, you can hit hold the control key while you use the mouse. There goes the magnifier.
Oh, holy moly. That got cool. You there, Joe?
Yep.
Okay. All right, let me try to gain some control over this because my monitor now freaking out. Here we go. Whoop, 300. Man, I can see every pixel in that mouse cursor now. Here we go. All right. Nope. All right. You able to see the code better, Joe, or should I try the other thing?
No, you can see you're zoomed in on the app settings right now.
Okay. Yeah, so I have data source equals context.db, not just the name of the file. I don't know if that matters or not. But you can give that a try.
What I have in secrets. Oh yeah, data source equals. Duh.
Yeah. And so when I run my API in Docker, I get, where's my Docker here? There it is. We get the images in the container. Oh, let me trash this container. I don't want that one anymore. So it's going to rebuild the image and start the container, right?
Yeah, I got it to work.
Yeah. Was that the trick?
Yeah, I forgot the data source equals.
Happy to contribute.
But now it should work on your machine once the container is built.
That's what I hope. So we're building down here, remote debugger, yada, yada. Okay, there's the container. Cool beans. All right. Let's inspect this container, right?
Yeah, just click on the contacts API or do that.
I'll get up here. Yep, there we go. All right, and when I launch this,
Visual Studio should automatically launch it for you once it's done.
oh, maybe it's not done loading yet. This might be my patience is part of the problem.
Yeah, it looks like it's attaching now.
Okay. Get in there. Okay, there we go. Problem loading page. So when I run the contacts API locally, works fine. I get that list. I can iterate through them. Got the query string, but oh, this is similar to what you're getting. Secure connection, right?
That was what I was getting in Rider. Oh, it could be. Maybe it's a Firefox thing. The local certificate's not trusted by them.
Oh, try Edge.
What port did you go to? Let's go to one that was on 443.
Let's see if we can do it. Problem loading page. Connection set. So here's the other thing. So this is what I get. You can actually set with the non-HTTPS one. If we inspect the container,
If you open up and try
development.
Chrome Edge.
Yeah.
Oh.
Browser.
Go back to the inspect. It's only allowing
Okay.
port 80 on yours, the ASP.NET URLs.
What is okay? All right. How do we fit that? Here I've got 80 and 443, and they're bound to these the same randomly assigned ports that yours are, right? 32770 and 371.
Yep.
Okay.
Did you create a new Docker file?
Yeah, I did just while you were still talking. And so I added the file. Even if we try that, yeah, the page isn't working, empty response. So the Docker file, brand new. Just all I did was come here, right click, and where is it? Add
Yeah, that's
Docker,
right.
right? Yeah. And so we didn't end up messing with these ports. That was correct because we didn't do the
We didn't
mapping.
change anything. In Visual Studio,
Yeah.
just right click and choose add Docker support and it works.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll bring it back to my screen since I got it working. And let's go with the next one. Okay, we're gonna remove that one.
There we go.
Pop in that one. So this is the contacts app working locally. Now we need to add in the web app. So I'm just gonna stop this for now. And let's go to the web UI. Click add Docker support. Let's do Linux again since that one's faster. But now we have to change the URL for the app. So let's go here. Actually, I think it's in app settings, right?
App settings development or app settings, right?
But I think this one's in user secrets.
Oh yeah.
Let me just double check. Manage user secrets. Yeah, I don't know why I put in user secrets for this. Doesn't necessarily need to be in user secrets. So let's go
Because that's
here.
Joe code. You also suppress warnings in your demo code, and you're very thorough, even in throwaway demos, Joe.
Yeah. That's the default out of the box. So localhost port 3 something
32770.
774 on mine.
Oh, is it? Okay.
32774, and don't forget the / contacts. So now it's there. I'm going to start the API. Make sure that's running. And the API is running on the other screen again. Okay, 32774. Now let's go back here. A shortcut for those of you that don't know, you can right click here, choose debug, and start a new instance. I just don't know if that's going to start a new instance in Docker or not.
Did you add Docker support to the web UI, Joe?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I didn't build it though yet. It's right there.
Okay. Okay.
Let's build it. Since this is, I guess I gotta stop debugging to build it. This one should go by significantly faster. It's built. Now it's publishing. And it's published. Now I wrote the images. Now it's ready to go. Now I'm going to create I think I can build this configure startup projects. And I'm going to do start with this one. Start with debugging and start with debugging. Click apply. Click OK. Oh, I lose out on the Docker option that way.
Focus.
Yeah,
Well, if you didn't change the API, then your container should just hit that through the Docker desktop.
Yeah, it should, but I remember last week we were having some troubles with it. Okay, the API is there. Now let's see if I can get the app to work. For you build. Oh, there it goes. It ran anyway. So now it should be running in the container too. Yep, there's 32246, and I'm going to put this halfway on the screen, and let's get the API in the other half. And if we got things correctly, when I click here, we should see Eugene, Darcy, blah blah blah.
Oh,
Cannot assign requests. Oh, that's because it's looking inside the Docker container. It's looking for local host. So I don't think it can actually talk to localhost because it really needs to talk to my machine's local host. Because this local host is the local inside the container, where I really need to go outside the container. Huh. So I wonder, I know there's something you have to create a network in there to allow them to talk to each other, I think. But there needs to be a way to have this one reach out to the other one. And let's see this. Time to Google it with Bing.
yeah.
New window. Docker container. Talk to another container.
You need compose.
So essentially, we have to create a Docker compose file, and then we can create the names for them and then reference the name, which is what they're doing here. This link to API, the link to that API. And if you do the Docker compose, you can create a depends on that other service. So that's one option. Let's see if there's an easier way without us having to build the Docker compose file. Yeah, basically have to create a network, which means we're gonna have to use the Docker compose. Oh yeah. See if Visual Studio can do that for us. Let's go and stop my projects.
At least stub one out for you.
Yeah. There is a Docker compose here in the root for Docker API. Let's get rid of you since I don't need you there.
Docker Compose is YAML, Joe.
Yeah. So here we'd want context web UI. And we're going to give it the name image context.web UI, which I believe it was called. And then build using the current context. And then use the Docker file of context.web UI/Docker file. Okay, so that would allow us to build both of them. However, we need to let's get this at a regular size. Let's go back to this article. We need to say this depends on the other one. So depends on context at API. This makes sure the context API is started. Although it doesn't look like it likes that syntax. Dash. There it goes. So get that part down. Let's see this person's Medium posts. So maybe that depends is enough. Wait, that's something here. I really hate Medium.
Thankful for the advice people share, but I remember when blogs were free.
Yeah, it's just pain that after like 3 or 4 times you're done, or you pay Medium.
Yeah.
So we create a network for them. Let's
Depends
do
on it,
this. Where is that containing? No dash, which it doesn't have a dash.
It doesn't like that name, does it?
Let's give it a version just to be fully copacetic, and I think 3.7 is the latest. Data services, networks, network services. Don't you like it? Just give me an error without telling me what's wrong. Why don't you? Data service network, networking, services, contact API, image, build. Probably going to need to do ports at some point. It looks good. What's wrong with that? Why is that not? You seeing anything I'm missing?
Huh?
Data service network. Let's go back to see a Stack Overflow post. I'm gonna do that.
And your depends on, should that be contacts dash API or contacts dot API?
The name of it is Contacts API right here.
Okay.
Whatever I call it on line 7 is what this needs to be, because this is the name of it.
Mhm. Okay.
It's got all the services. Come on, where's my networking part? Networking. There it is. Networking in Compose.
You know, we told ourselves we weren't going to make everybody watch us Google, but here we are.
I guess you don't need. Maybe you don't need it. Oh, by default, it sets up a single network. So we don't need this. That must have been the older version.
Okay, cool.
That's why Visual Studio was complaining. It's only if we have a custom network. You're gone, but we're going to need the ports for here. So ports. But we have
32774 was yours.
32774 maps to 443. And then I wonder if I actually have to even do this.
Let's try it without mapping the ports and see what happens. YOLO.
Yeah, well, I actually don't even think we even need to do this Docker compose file. I think if I just change this to not use localhost, but use contacts.api, that it might recognize it.
Right.
So I looked at one of the other docs. Okay, you're good. Let's go here. Choose debug.
Well, at this point, you should be able to run the web UI on your local machine, not in a container.
You
As
should,
long as you
but we're going to need both
have-
containers if we move forward.
Yeah.
So name or service is not no. Well, that's good. So let's see. Container using the web's config joins under the web. Okay, so I will need to do this. What port was the contacts API on?
32774 map to 443.
32776 443. And just to make sure this period doesn't get in the way, I'm going to call it dash. Okay, now let's go and just going to stop both containers.
You may have your Docker file is, or your Docker compose is already composing a network for you.
Yeah, it does. It seems.
Does that automatically?
Sorry, Visual Studio, I forgot to stop it. Now, if I go here, I have the Docker compose. Oh, where's the Docker command? I'm used to having a Docker up command there. Oh, all else fails. Let's go to the command prompt. I don't know how we're going to debug, but at least we can see if we get it working.
Sometimes the errors have shown up in the container logs for me.
Yeah, I know, but I don't know how we're going to actually attach the Visual Studio debugger to it.
Oh, yeah.
So here's our Docker compose. So I'm going to do a Docker up, which should look for docker-compose YAML, find it, and create containers. Docker compose or compuse. So now it's working through. I'm basically rebuilding them since it's the first time. With compose. It's publishing the API. Now we'll notice once we do this, it's going to look slightly different in our Docker desktop. I think we're going to see a folder name and then have a drop down once this is built with the web UI and the API in there. Oops. Okay, here we see it created a network source default and created two containers source. That's because that's the folder I was in, Context API and Context API Web. They're both running on here. Now I see here I have a source that has the two apps running. Let's go to the API first. /contacts.
Do you need to call it by name, Contacts API?
No, I don't think I have to because that's the port that's exposed. Let's see if 776 was the other one.
Yeah.
Nope, running into the issue we had before where something in Visual Studio was creating extra stuff that this wasn't. Ugh. Let's stop these bad boys.
Yeah. You've got another one running. I don't know if you noticed that.
Another what?
The Docker dev-docker right there.
Oh yeah, that's my personal one. That's SQL Server.
Oh,
running.
okay. Oh, that's got all your databases on it. Okay.
Yeah, it has all my databases running, so that one's totally fine.
Okay.
Sure, spacing is right there. Building using the Docker file. Let's see what's in those Docker files. If there's anything I need to include. No. And when Visual Studio runs this, let's see what it does. Just looking through it, creates a bunch of environment variables. I wonder if all the volume mapping and everything has to happen.
How do we
Because something clearly isn't when we run it
Yeah.
locally. It's got the right environment settings. It's got the right port, but no container mounts. I don't know if that means anything. It's got the
That seems
file.
like simple. We're clearly missing something, you know?
Yeah. Looks like I got to go through and read up on this even more. I thought I knew some of the basics. Apparently, I don't. And we're plump out of time, too.
Man, that went fast.
Yeah, it did. I just happened to spot that. Look at the clock. Okay, I'm going to commit these, and then so you can play around with it some more, and I can play around with it and see where the next steps are. Who'd have thought that the first two parts were just trying to get the containers to work?
Probably everybody who's done this before and is laughing their butts off at us.
Right? You must suffer like I had to suffer.
The Docker fairy is going to come out. You have suffered enough, and now it will run.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
Okay. Well, for those of you that want to try to follow along or submit a PR to help us figure out what we did wrong, there's the URL for the project. I'm going to go and push an update to it in a couple of seconds. But see you all next week at Thursday. In 2 days.
Thursday. Yeah.
Thursday at 1 o'clock Mountain / Pacific, 4 Eastern, 8 UTC. See ya. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.